In the pantheon of human intellect, the Nobel Prize is the ultimate currency of truth. For over a century, it has been awarded to those who discover the immutable laws of the universe. In physics, you win for explaining gravity. In medicine, you win for curing diseases. These are discoveries that remain true whether we believe in them or not. But there is one prize in that lineup that has always felt like an intruder: the prize in economic sciences. It is the stepchild of the Nobel family, born not from Alfred Nobel's will, but from a bank's marketing budget in 1968. For decades, this origin story gave economists a collective case of physics envy. They were desperate to prove that their field wasn't just a collection of opinions about money, but a hard, rigorous science. To earn this legitimacy, the committee spent 30 years building a cathedral of certainty. They awarded the prize to men who turned human behavior into elegant calculus. They treated the global economy like a predictable machine, governed by the rational man, a mythical creature who always makes the perfect decision to maximize his own profit. It was a beautiful mathematical fantasy. It was neat, it was logical, and as it turned out, it was completely wrong. The year 2002 marked the moment the Riksbank Prize stopped pretending. The committee awarded the medal to two men who didn't just add a new floor to the building of economics, they dynamited the foundation. First, there was Vernon L. Smith. He was an economist who treated markets not like philosophy, but like engineering. He built wind tunnels for the economy, laboratory experiments to test if the theories actually worked in real life. And then there was Daniel Kahneman. He wasn't an economist at all. He was a psychologist. He had spent his life studying not money, but the messy, glitchy, emotional software running inside the human brain. He didn't care about how the economy should work. He cared about how people actually think. Together, they forced the world to admit a terrifying paradox. The models we use to run the world assume we are geniuses, but in reality, we are irrational gamblers. To understand how they shattered the most expensive illusion in history, we have to answer three massive questions. 1. The myth of perfection. Why did smart people believe for 200 years that humans were cold, calculating robots? 2. The behavioral glitch. How did a simple laboratory experiment prove that your brain is hardwired to make bad financial decisions? 3. The price of humanity. If we can't trust our own rationality, is the free market actually a trap? Welcome to the story of the 2002 Nobel Prize. To understand why the 2002 Nobel was such a scandal, you have to understand the god that economics worshipped for 200 years. His name was Homo economicus, economic man. In the textbooks, Homo economicus is impressive. He is smarter than you. He is smarter than me. He has infinite willpower and the computing power of a supercomputer. When he walks into a supermarket, he doesn't just grab the shiny bag of chips. He instantly calculates the price per ounce, the nutritional value, and his future health costs, comparing them against his budget constraints to maximize his utility. He never regrets a purchase. He never panics during a stock market crash. He is cold, consistent, and perfectly rational. Now, it's easy to laugh at this today. We all know Uncle Bob who bought Bitcoin at the top because his barber told him to, but here is the defense for the rational man. Economists didn't believe people were actually robots. They knew we were messy. But you cannot build a science on messy. You can't write an equation for Uncle Bob is feeling greedy today. To make economics a predictive science, to manage interest rates, build pension funds, and organize global trade, you needed a constant. You needed to assume that on average, mistakes cancel each other out. If one person buys too high, another sells too low, and the market finds the truth. This assumption wasn't just a theory, it was the load-bearing wall of Western capitalism. It allowed us to build the efficient market hypothesis and the financial systems that run the world. It was a beautiful, elegant lie, and it worked. Until it didn't. The problem wasn't that the rational man model was imperfect. All models are imperfect. The problem was that it was becoming dangerous. According to the standard theory, human errors should be random. Think of it like a crowded sidewalk. Some people veer left, some veer right, but the crowd moves straight. In the market, if you make a stupid mistake and sell too low, I should make a smart decision and buy, correcting the price. The noise cancels out. But by the late 20th century, data started pouring in that didn't fit the graph. We saw massive stock market bubbles where everyone bought too high at the same time. We saw crashes where everyone panicked at once. These weren't random errors. They were systematic errors. The crowd wasn't walking straight. The entire crowd was walking off a cliff. Economists tried to patch these holes. They called them anomalies or paradoxes. Academics speak for we have no idea why this is happening. They treated human psychology like a bug in the code, something to be ignored or assumed away. They kept insisting that the map was right and the territory was wrong. But you can only ignore reality for so long. The anomalies started piling up until they formed a mountain that blocked the view. Economics had hit a dead end. They needed someone to explain why the rational man kept acting like a lunatic. They needed a mechanic to pop the hood of the human mind. So how did they prove the rational man was dead? They attacked him from two sides, the inside and the outside. Daniel Kahneman, along with his late partner Amos Tversky, attacked from the inside. He introduced prospect theory. Essentially, he proved that human beings evaluate gains and losses completely differently. We feel the pain of losing $100 twice as intensely as the joy of finding $100. This is loss aversion. It means we aren't maximizing utility, we are minimizing regret. Kahneman showed that under uncertainty, our brains don't run complex algorithms. They use heuristics, mental shortcuts that are fast, evolutionarily useful, and often completely wrong in the modern economy. Meanwhile, Vernon Smith attacked from the outside. Before him, economics was a non-experimental science, like astronomy. You could only observe, never touch. Smith changed that. He built experimental economics. He created artificial markets in laboratories using real people and real money to test specific rules. While Kahneman was finding glitches in the individual software, Smith was testing the hardware of the market itself. He discovered that even if people are irrational, as Kahneman said, the structure of the market, the rules of the auction, can sometimes force rational outcomes. Or if the rules are bad, they can amplify our madness into a catastrophe. Together, they shifted economics from this is how people should behave to this is how people actually behave. To truly understand Kahneman's insight, you have to stop thinking like a trader and start thinking like a caveman. Imagine your brain as a piece of software coded 100,000 years ago on the African savanna. You are walking through the tall grass. Suddenly, you hear a rustle. If you were the rational economic man, your brain would run a statistical analysis. Based on historical data, 99% of rustles are just the wind. Only 1% is a tiger. Running away costs 500 calories. Therefore, the optimal strategy is to stay put and save energy. Do you know what happened to the early humans who thought like that? They got eaten. They went extinct. The humans who survived, our ancestors, were the ones who panicked. They didn't calculate. They ran. They treated every rustle like a tiger. This is the evolutionary root of loss aversion. In the jungle, making a mistake about a gain, missing a berry bush, is annoying. But making a mistake about a loss, missing a tiger, is fatal. Nature programmed us to feel the pain of loss twice as intensely as the pleasure of gain, simply to keep us alive. But here is the tragedy. We have taken this jungle software and installed it into a Wall Street environment. When your stock portfolio drops by 10%, it's not a tiger. It won't eat you. But your amygdala, the lizard part of your brain, screams danger, just like it did in the jungle. You panic sell at the bottom not because you are stupid, but because you are biologically hardwired to survive threats that no longer exist. Vernon Smith's genius was realizing this. He showed that we are all just scared cavemen running around. But if you design the cave correctly, if you build the right market structures and rules, you can stop the cavemen from hurting themselves. The market becomes a cage that tames the beast within us. The year is 1956. We are in a classroom at Purdue University. At this time, economics is a blackboard science. You write equations, you draw curves, and you assume the world follows them. You do not run experiments. You do not treat people like lab rats. It was considered undignified, even impossible. But Vernon Smith, a young and rebellious professor, was skeptical. He looked at the perfect supply and demand charts in the textbooks, the X that marks the spot of perfect equilibrium, and he asked a dangerous question: does this actually exist? The textbook said that for a market to reach the equilibrium, the perfect price, every buyer and seller needed perfect information. They needed to know everything. But Smith looked at his students. They were just bored college kids. They knew nothing about market theory. They certainly weren't rational supercomputers. So Smith decided to play a game. He divided the class into two groups, buyers and sellers. He gave them index cards with secret values. To a buyer, a card might say value $20. This meant if they bought a widget for $10, they made $10 profit. To a seller, a card might say cost $5. If they sold for $15, they made $10 profit. The rules were simple. Nobody knew anyone else's value. There was zero transparency. It was a market of total ignorance. According to the economic dogma of the time, this market should fail. Without perfect information, these irrational students should run around like headless chickens, and the price should be chaotic. The invisible hand shouldn't work. Smith blew the whistle. The trading began. The room exploded. It didn't look like a sophisticated economic model. It looked like a riot. Students were yelling prices across the room. I'll buy for 12, selling for 15. 13, take it or leave it. It was messy, it was loud, it was uncoordinated. There was no central computer matching orders. Just a bunch of greedy college kids trying to make a quick buck. From the sidelines, Vernon Smith watched, chalk in hand, sweating. He was recording every transaction on the blackboard. To an outsider, this was anarchy. According to the elegant equations of the time, this lack of information should have led to disaster. Sellers should have asked for too much. Buyers should have offered too little, and the market should have frozen. For the first few minutes, it seemed like the skeptics were right. Prices were bouncing all over the place. Volatility was high. The rational man was nowhere to be found. Only emotional, shouting humans. It felt like the experiment was going to be a humiliating failure. Proof that you couldn't bottle the economy in a jar. As the shouting died down and the chalk dust settled, Vernon Smith looked at the board. He couldn't believe his eyes. Despite the chaos, despite the ignorance, despite the fact that these students were not rational supercomputers, the prices had converged. They didn't just get close, they landed exactly to the penny on the theoretical equilibrium price predicted by the textbooks. It was a miracle. The students didn't know the math. They didn't know the right price. But through the chaotic process of bidding and asking, the market itself had calculated the answer. It turned out that you don't need smart people to have a smart market. You just need a smart mechanism. This was the missing half of the 2002 Nobel. While Kahneman showed us that the individual is flawed, biased, and emotional, Smith showed us that the institution can correct those flaws. Think of it like an ant colony. A single ant is stupid. It walks in circles. It gets lost. But the colony as a whole is a genius architect. Smith proved that the invisible hand isn't a magical force that makes us all rational. It is a filter. It takes our messy, irrational, Kahneman-esque behavior and, if the rules are set up correctly, distills it into collective wisdom. The blackboard in 1956 didn't just prove the textbooks right, it proved them right for the wrong reasons. We aren't smart. The market is. So is the story over? Is the market a perfect machine that turns human stupidity into collective wisdom? Not quite. In later experiments, Vernon Smith discovered something darker. When he allowed students to trade assets that paid dividends over time, like stocks or houses, the magical convergence didn't always happen. Instead, he saw bubbles. Students would start buying the asset at prices far above its logical value. Why? Because they saw others buying it. They thought, I can sell this to a greater fool tomorrow for even more. Kahneman's psychological glitches, herd mentality, overconfidence, and greed overwhelmed Smith's market mechanism. This is the crucial warning by the 2002 Nobel Prize. Markets are not magic wands, they are tools. Like a hammer, they can build a house, or they can smash your thumb. When the rules are clear and feedback is immediate, like buying apples, markets work beautifully. But when the rules are opaque and the payout is distant, like buying complex derivatives or crypto, the market stops acting like a filter and starts acting like a megaphone. It amplifies our worst instincts. It takes Kahneman's caveman fear and caveman greed and broadcasts them at the speed of light. The result isn't equilibrium, it's a financial heart attack. Fast forward to 2025. The insights of the 2002 Nobel Prize have never been more relevant or more dangerous. Why? Because while you might not have read Kahneman's work, the people trying to sell you things certainly have. Today, the financial system is no longer designed for the rational man. It is designed to hunt the irrational caveman. Look at your phone. Trading apps are gamified with confetti and bright colors to trigger a dopamine rush. Bypassing your logical brain, System 2, and speaking directly to your impulsive brain, System 1. Algorithms are programmed to detect loss aversion in the market and trigger panic selling so they can buy cheap. We are living in an era of weaponized psychology. Every push notification, every only 2 items left banner, Every algorithmic newsfeed is an experiment designed to exploit your cognitive biases. The market has become a battlefield where supercomputers fight against your biology. So what does this mean for your wallet? It means that trusting your gut is now a financial suicide mission. Your gut was built for the jungle, not for leverage trading or navigating high-interest debt. The lesson of Kahneman and Smith is that you are the weak link in your own financial chain. But there is good news. Acknowledging that you are glitchy is the first step to fixing the machine. You can't turn off your emotions, but you can build better institutions for yourself. Automated savings, cooling off periods before big purchases, and strict rules that stop you from acting on impulse. You have to build a cage for your inner caveman. The 2002 Nobel Prize was more than just an award. It was a confession. It was the moment economics finally admitted that it doesn't have all the answers. For 2 centuries, we tried to force humanity into a mathematical box. We pretended we were gods, perfect, logical, and all-knowing. Daniel Kahneman showed us the mirror, and in it, we saw that we are not gods. We are flawed, emotional creatures. But Vernon Smith showed us that we don't need to be gods to build a functioning world. We just need to be honest architects. The death of rational man is not a tragedy. It is a liberation. It reminds us that the economy isn't a machine made of gears and equations. It is a living, breathing organism made of flesh, blood, and neurons. So the next time you feel a pang of fear when the market drops, remember, that is your inner caveman speaking. You can't silence him, but thanks to the lessons of 2002, you don't have to let him drive the car. Rationality is dead. Long live humanity. And finally, a massive thank you to you, our viewers. In an era of 15-second attention spans, the fact that you are still here deep diving into the complexities of behavioral economics gives us hope. It proves that there is still a demand for System 2 thinking, for slow, deep, and rigorous understanding. If you enjoyed questioning your own rationality with us today, make sure to subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.